In the dead of night, when the hospital corridors of Supreme Life Abuja fell eerily silent, a single room pulsed with a mystery that would unravel destinies. The air hung heavy with the scent of antiseptic and rain-soaked earth, the storm outside hammering against the windows like a restless spirit. Stella Jadil, a young nurse with a quiet demeanor, sat alone beside a bed where a man lay motionless, his chest rising and falling with labored breaths. The dim glow of the monitor cast shadows across his weathered face. Chief Al-Haji Idris Beare, the oil tycoon whose name carried weight across Nigeria. But tonight, he was no billionaire. He was a fragile figure, tethered to life by tubes and machines, his gray beard streaked with sweat. Stella's hands moved with practiced gentleness, adjusting the IV drip, her fingers brushing against the cold metal of the bedframe. She hadn't meant to stay this late. Her shift had ended hours ago. But something about this man kept her rooted. The other nurses had fled the ward, whispering about his reputation. Ruthless, powerful, a man who built an empire on ambition. Yet here he was, vulnerable, his eyes fluttering open to meet hers. They held a depth she couldn't decipher fear, regret, or perhaps a plea. "Who are you?" he rasped, his voice a faint crackle against the storm's roar. "I am Stella," she replied softly, offering a sip of water from a straw. "Your nurse." "I've been watching over you." He took it weakly, coughing as the liquid trickled down his throat. His gaze lingered, searching her face as if trying to unlock a memory. "Dante let them near me," he whispered, his fingers twitching toward her hand. "Them? My people, staff, family. I don't trust them." Stella nodded, unsure what to say, her heart stirring with an unfamiliar weight. He wanted her to stay, and she agreed, sensing a duty beyond her uniform. The days that followed were a blur of hushed visits and tense standoffs. His family arrived sharp-suited men and a veiled woman demanding access, their voices edged with impatience. "He needs rest," the matron insisted, but Idris's voice cut through the door. "If it is not Nurse Stella, I don't want to see anybody." The matroness eyes narrowed at Stella. "What did you do to him?" she asked, suspicion lacing her tone. "I only stayed," Stella murmured, her simplicity disarming the older woman. Inside the room, Idris opened up in fragments. He asked about her life, why she became a nurse, the loss of her mother to childbirth complications. "I promised to help people live, even if I couldn't save her," Stella confessed one evening, her voice steady despite the ache. He studied her, his expression softening. "You're not like them," he said. "The others who smile but hide knives." She didn't respond, but his words planted a seed of curiosity. Who was this man beneath the wealth? What haunted him? On the seventh night, the air grew thick with anticipation. The rain had stopped, leaving a damp stillness. Idris's voice broke the quiet. "Stella, do you believe in second chances?" She met his gaze, her answer instinctive. "Yes, I do." His eyes closed, a tear escaping. "Then I need yours." The room seemed to hold its breath, the beeping monitor a steady heartbeat. He didn't elaborate, staring at the ceiling as if conversing with ghosts. Stella adjusted his blanket, wondering what he meant, but held her questions. It felt like waiting for rain in the dry season inevitable, yet out of her control. Hours later, he spoke again, his voice low. "Do you know what it's like to sleep in a house full of people and still feel alone?" Stella hesitated, her own solitude surfacing. "Sometimes I cry when I'm alone, sir. I just don't do it in front of people." A faint smile flickered on his lips. "Good. That means you still feel." "I stopped crying 30 years ago." The confession hung between them, heavy with unspoken pain. "Do you know who I am?" he asked, She recited the public version, Chief Al-Haji Idris Beare, oil magnate, billionaire. He shook his head. Then you didn't know me at all. That's good. His hand trembled as he reached for hers. Don't believe what they tell you about me. Don't trust them either. They were waiting like vultures for me to stop breathing. Stella squeezed his hand gently. I don't listen to gossip. His grip tightened. They want my name, my land, my signature. I don't want anything from you, sir, she reassured him. I know, he whispered, releasing her. That's why you are the only one I trust. A knock interrupted them. Nurse Ada peeked in. Stella, his son and lawyer, are here. Idris's jaw clenched. Tell them I'm asleep. Tell them I said no. Ada hesitated, then retreated. Maybe they care, sir, Stella ventured. He laughed dryly. Care? My son hasn't visited in 2 years. Now he's here with a lawyer. What do you think he wants? She stayed silent, sensing the truth in his bitterness. That afternoon, the door burst open again. Malik, a tall man in a designer suit, strode in. Dad, it's me. I flew from London. Idris turned away. I said I don't want to see anyone. Malik forced a smile. Come on, Dad. Don't he be like this? Stella rose. Sir, maybe you should let him speak. Idris's voice was firm. Ask him to leave. Malik's eyes flashed. Who are you, his nurse or his wife? I'm his nurse, Stella said quietly. Then leave us to talk, Malik snapped. Idris intervened. If she leaves, you leave too. Malik stormed out, slamming the door. Stella sat back, Idris's words echoing. They think they know me, but they only know what I let them see. He looked at her, sadness pooling in his eyes. You remind me of her. Who? She asked. Miriam, he murmured, then fell silent. The next day, more visitors came, sons, cousins, pastors, all turned away except her. On the third night, as she adjusted his pillow, he spoke again. Stella, do you believe in secrets? I think everyone has one, she replied. He nodded. Mine has been locked away for 28 years, but it's time. His hand tapped the bedside table. There's a bag under this bed. Stella retrieved a small black leather bag, opening it to reveal a brown envelope, a silver key, and a photograph of a young woman holding a baby. That's her, Idris said. Miriam, the only woman I ever loved. I left her because my family said she wasn't good enough. She was pregnant when I left. I gave her a house in Kuta village. Find her. Find my daughter. Stella's breath caught. Me? Why me? Because I trust you, he whispered, with clean hands. The room grew still, the photograph's faded smile haunting her. What had she stumbled into? The key felt heavy in her palm, a gateway to a past she didn't yet understand. Outside, the city lights blinked, oblivious to the storm brewing within these walls. The hospital room seemed to shrink around Stella, as the weight of Al-Haji Idris's words settled into her bones. The photograph trembled slightly in her hands. The young woman's gentle smile, Miriam staring back at her with eyes that held a lifetime of unspoken stories. The silver key, cool and solid, rested beside it, a silent testament to a promise made decades ago. Outside, the city of Abuja buzzed with its usual chaos. But within these four walls, time slowed to a crawl, the soft beep of the heart monitor punctuating the stillness. Stella's mind raced. Find her! Find my daughter! The request echoed like a drumbeat, pulling her toward an unknown path she hadn't chosen but couldn't ignore. Idris's chest rose and fell unevenly, his eyes half closed, as if the effort of speaking had drained him. Why me? Stella whispered, her voice barely audible over the hum of the machines. His lips parted, a faint breath escaping. Because you carry no pride, no threat, just truth. His hand, frail and trembling, reached for hers again, his grip weak but insistent. They'll stop you if they know. My sons, my cousin Yusuf, they were watching. Go soon, use the key. The house in Kuta village is all I have left of her. His voice faded, his head lolling to the side as exhaustion overtook him. Stella sat frozen, the bag clutched against her chest. The envelope inside crackled faintly, hinting at papers, documents perhaps, or a letter unfinished. Her heart thudded with a mix of fear and resolve. She had never left Abuja, never ventured beyond the familiar streets where she'd grown up and trained. Kuta village was a name she'd heard in passing, a rural speck hours away, shrouded in mystery. Yet Idris's trust in her, this dying man who had turned away his own blood, stirred something deep within her, a sense of purpose she couldn't shake. The door creaked open, and Nurse Ada slipped in, her eyes wide with urgency. Stella, Malik S., back with the lawyer this time. They are demanding to see the patient records. The matron S. stalling, but they were getting louder. Stella glanced at Idris, his face serene in sleep, then nodded. I'll handle it. She tucked the bag under her chair, its presence a secret she guarded with every breath. As Ada left, Malik stormed in, his designer suit impeccable despite the late hour. Behind him, a man in a gray suit carried a black folder, his expression neutral but calculating. What's going on? Malik snapped, his gaze darting between Stella and his father. Dad, why is she still here? What is she doing? Idris stirred but didn't awake, his breathing shallow. She's my nurse, he murmured, his voice a thread of sound. Malika's laugh was bitter. She's more than that, obviously. We've been waiting outside for an hour. I didn't ask you to wait, Idris rasped, his tone firm despite his weakness. The lawyer stepped forward, clearing his throat. Sir, we need your signature on some hospital bills. The will can wait. Idris's eyes flickered, open, locking onto Stella. Give the papers to her. She'll check them first. Malika's face darkened. Dad, what is wrong with you? The lawyer, visibly uncomfortable, placed the folder on the table and stepped back. Malik slammed his palm down. This is madness. Stella kept her eyes lowered, her mind racing. What if they searched the room? What if they found the bag? Idris turned to his son, his voice cold. When I die, you'll get what you deserve. But don't cheat me while I am breathing. Malika's mouth opened, then closed. He stormed out, the lawyer trailing behind, the door slamming with a resounding echo. Silence returned, thick and heavy. Stella reached for the folder, sliding it into the drawer, her hands steady despite the turmoil within. What if they follow me? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. Idris's eyes met hers, serious and weary. Don't use your real name in Kuta. Don't tell anyone why you're there. Go straight to the address. Lock the door behind you. He reached under his pillow, producing a plastic bag with cash and a folded paper. For transport. The caretaker's name is Oho. He'll help. Stella took it, her fingers brushing the worn paper. I've never done anything like this, she admitted, her voice trembling. This isn't just medicine. It's something else. I know, he said, a faint smile crossing his lips. Rest, Idris, she said, using his name for the first time. He closed his eyes, a tear tracing down his cheek. That night, Stella couldn't sleep. Back in her small flat behind the hospital compound, she sat on her narrow bed, the bag open before her. The photograph of Mariam and the baby lay face up, the silver key beside it. The envelope's contents papers, a DNA test request, an unfinished letter whispered secrets she wasn't ready to unravel. Her mind churned with questions. What if Mariam was gone? What if the daughter rejected this legacy? The city outside was quiet, but inside her head, voices clashed fear, duty, faith. She remembered Idris's eyes, clear and desperate, not those of a man chasing wealth, but one seeking redemption. He wasn't faking it. She could feel it. Before dawn, Stella packed a travel bag, 2 dresses, a notepad, a power bank, a scarf, and the essentials. The key, the photo, the envelope, the address. She texted the matron about a family emergency, needing 2 days off, and slipped out into the pre-dawn chill. At Zuba Park, the air buzzed with activity drivers shouting destinations, passengers hauling bags, a baby crying, a woman frying puff-puff under a red umbrella. She clutched the paper, searching for Kuda. A conductor waved her over. "Kuda, madam, this way." The bus was old, its windows cracked, seats torn. But she climbed aboard, her heart heavier than the heat inside. As the engine roared to life, Abuja faded into the distance, tall buildings giving way to small houses, then narrow paths. The bus jolted over potholes, dust swirling through the open windows. Stella stared out, lost in thought. What would she find in Cuda? A mother? A sister? The journey stretched for hours, the landscape shifting to red soil and scattered huts. When the driver shouted, "Last stop!" she stepped out, the sun searing her face. Cuda village lay before her, quiet, rustic, with chickens pecking the ground and children playing with tires. She walked to a roadside canteen, asking an old man frying a kara, "Do you know Oho the caretaker?" He pointed down a path, second house after the well, the green one. Her steps felt leaden as she approached, the villagers' curious stares following her clean dress and modern shoes. She knocked on the green door, and a man in his 60s opened it, his face tired, hands rough. "Yes, are you Mr. Oho?" she asked. He squinted. "Who's asking?" She showed him the photo. "I came from Abuja. Chief Idris sent me." His expression shifted. "Come inside," he said, stepping back. The room was small but neat, a standing fan whirring slowly, a 2017 calendar on the wall, a Bible and radio on a table. Oho sat heavily. "You said Idris sent you." "Yes, he is very sick," Stella replied. He nodded. "I knew this day would come. I'm still the caretaker. Visit once a week, sweep, keep it clean, no one lives there." She pulled out the key, and he nodded again. "That's the one. Can you take me there? Now?" "Yes." He grabbed an old cap, and they walked in silence, past farms and a school with shouting children, to a quiet compound behind tall bushes. The gate creaked open, revealing a faded cream house, grass cut, path swept, but the air still as if time had paused. Stella's fingers shook as she inserted the key, turning it with a soft click. The door swung open, and she stepped into the unknown, her destiny unfolding with every creak of the floorboards. The door creaked shut behind Stella as she stepped into the dim interior of the house in Cuda village, the silver key still warm in her hand. The air inside was musty, tinged with the faint scent of aged wood and dried herbs, as if the past had been preserved like a relic. Sunlight filtered through cracked shutters, casting jagged patterns across the floor, illuminating a room frozen in time. A wooden table sat in the center, its surface scarred with knife marks, surrounded by chairs with faded cushions. On the walls hung a single calendar from 1997, its pages yellowed, and a small mirror reflecting her wide-eyed expression. This was Miriam's home, or what remained of it. Oho lingered at the threshold, his rough hands clasped behind his back. "Ivy kept it as it was," he said, his voice low, almost reverent. "Chief Idris paid me to maintain it, but he never came back. Said it was for her safety." Stella nodded, her gaze drifting to a shelf where a row of clay pots stood, one tipped over as if abandoned mid-task. A woven basket held scraps of fabric, needle and thread tangled within, hinting at Miriam's life as a seamstress. The photograph in her bag burned against her side, urging her to uncover its story. She moved deeper into the house, her sandals clicking softly on the tiled floor. In a corner, a wooden cradle rocked slightly from a draft, its paint chipped but intact, a silent cradle for the baby in the photo. Her chest tightened. This wasn't just a house. It was a tomb of memories. She knelt beside the cradle, running her fingers along its edge, when Oho cleared his throat. There's a box under the bed in the back room. She left things there. I never touched it. Stella followed him to a small bedroom, its walls adorned with peeling floral wallpaper. Under a narrow bed, dust-covered and sagging, lay a wooden box bound with rusted hinges. She pulled it out, the wood groaning in protest, and lifted the lid. Inside were letters, yellowed and tied with string, a small journal, and a silver necklace with a pendant shaped like a teardrop. Her breath caught as she unfolded a letter. The ink faded but legible. "My dearest Miriam, I will return. I promise to build us a life. Idris." The date was scrawled in 1987, nearly 4 decades past. Another letter, written in a different hand, caught her eye. It was from Miriam, addressed to Idris but never sent. "You left me with our daughter Aisha. I've erased her alone, sewing to feed us. I waited, but your promise turned to dust. I've moved to a village near here, teaching to survive. Don't come back unless you mean it." Stella's hands shook. Aisha, the daughter, alive perhaps, and close. She tucked the letters into her bag, the necklace dangling from her fingers, its weight a tangible link to the past. Oho watched her, his expression unreadable. "She left 20 years ago. Said she couldn't stay where his shadow lingered. I heard she went to Mama Uduak, an elder in the next village, for help. That's all I—" No. Stella's heart raced. Mama Uduak, a name to follow. She thanked Oho, promising to return, and stepped back into the sunlight, the house's silence echoing in her ears. The village was waking, women balancing buckets on their heads, children chasing goats. She asked a young girl, "Where's Mama Uduak's house?" The girl pointed down a dirt path, big hut with red cloth over the door. She knows everything. The walk was short but tense, her mind replaying Idris's words. "Watch them, they'll stop you." She adjusted her scarf, hiding the bag as outline, and knocked on the red-draped door. An elderly woman opened it, her face lined with wisdom, eyes sharp despite her age. "Who are you, child?" she asked, her voice like rustling leaves. "I am Sarah," Stella lied, using a false name as Idris had advised. "I am looking for someone, a woman named Miriam, or her daughter Aisha." Mama Uduak's gaze narrowed, then softened. "Come in." Inside the hut was warm, filled with the aroma of burning incense and herbs. She gestured to a mat, and Stella sat, the bag heavy on her lap. "Miriam passed 5 years ago," Mama Uduak said, her tone gentle but firm. "Consumption took her. Aisha stayed with me after, nursing the sick. She stays strong, like her mother, but carries a wound from her father's absence." Stella's throat tightened. Miriam was gone, but Aisha lived. "Where is she now?" she asked. "Left 2 months ago. Said she was opening a clinic in a village called Gudu, 2 hours north. Took her mother's skills and her father's stubbornness." Mama Uduak paused, studying Stella. "Why do you seek her? You don't look like family." Stella hesitated, the lie sticking in her throat. "A friend asked me to find her, to deliver something." The elder nodded, unconvinced but willing to let it pass. "Take the road past the mango grove. Ask for Aisha Hassan. But be wary, others have come asking, and she trusts few." Stella thanked her, stepping back into the daylight with a renewed sense of purpose. Gudu, 2 hours. She could make it before nightfall. At the village edge, she hired a motorcycle taxi, the driver a wiry man named Chidi who eyed her bag curiously. "Gudu, eh? Long ride. You got business there?" "Just visiting," she said, clutching the bag tighter. The ride was bumpy, the landscape shifting to rolling hills and sparse trees, the wind whipping her scarf. Her mind churned Miriam as death, Aisha as resilience, Idris as dying wish. Was she walking into a trap? Or a reunion? As they neared Gudu, the sun dipped low, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. The village was smaller than Kuta, its huts clustered around a central well. Children played near a makeshift clinic, a tin-roofed structure with a sign reading, Aisha S. Healing Hands. Stella S. pulse quickened. She paid Chidi, who lingered a moment before driving off, and approached the clinic. Inside, a woman in a blue uniform tended to a child with a bandaged leg. She was in her late 30s, her features striking. High cheekbones, dark eyes, a scar near her temple mirroring Idris S. Could this be Aisha? "Excuse me," Stella said, her voice steady despite her nerves. "Are you Aisha Hassan?" The woman looked up, her expression guarded. "Yes. Who are you?" Stella swallowed, the photograph burning in her bag. "My name is Sarah. I have something for you. From someone who knew your mother." Aisha's eyes narrowed, but she set down her tools. "Show me." Stella pulled out the photo, handing it over. Aisha's breath hitched, her fingers tracing Mariam's face. "Where did you get this?" she demanded. "From Chief Idris Beare," Stella said, watching her reaction. Aisha's face hardened. "My father? He's dead to me. What does he want now?" Stella took a deep breath. "He's not dead yet. He's dying in Abuja. He asked me to find you and your mother. He said he kept a promise." Aisha's laugh was bitter. "A promise? He abandoned us. Left my mother to sew for scraps while he built his empire." Tears glistened in her eyes, but she wiped them away. "What's in it for him?" Stella opened the bag, revealing the envelope and key. "He didn't say much, just that he regrets it. He wants peace." Aisha stared at the items, her resolve wavering. "Peace, after 38 years?" She sighed, sitting heavily. "Stay the night, we'll talk, but I make no promises." Stella nodded, relief mingling with uncertainty. The clinic's walls seemed to close in, the weight of Idris's secret pressing down. Tomorrow she would learn more or face the consequences of this fragile trust. The night settled over Gudu village like a heavy blanket, the air thick with the scent of damp earth and wood smoke from distant hearths. Inside Aisha's clinic, the tin roof creaked under a gentle breeze, its walls casting long shadows across the room, where Stella sat on a wooden bench. Aisha had offered her a mat in the corner, the clinic doubling as her home, with a small stove and a stack of medical supplies as her only comforts. The photograph of Mariam and the baby lay between them on a rickety table, the silver key glinting faintly in the glow of a kerosene lamp. Aisha's guarded silence filled the space, her fingers tracing the edges of the photo as if it might vanish. Stella adjusted her scarf, the weight of the day pressing on her shoulders. The journey from Cuda, the revelation of Mariam's death, and now this tense standoff with Aisha, all of it felt like a puzzle with pieces she couldn't yet fit together. "How did you know my father?" Aisha asked abruptly, her voice cutting through the quiet. Her eyes, sharp and probing, fixed on Stella. "I didn't he?" Stella replied honestly. "I'm a nurse at Supreme Life Hospital in Abuja. He's my patient. He gave me this before he fell into a coma." She gestured to the bag, her tone steady despite the unease coiling in her stomach. Aisha leaned back, crossing her arms. "A coma? Convenient. He's been sick for months and now he sends a stranger with a photo and a key? What's he after?" Stella hesitated, choosing her words carefully. "He didn't say much. Just that he regrets leaving your mother and wants to make it right." "He is dying, Aisha. He asked me to find you and her." Aisha's laugh was sharp, almost painful. "Make it right? He left us when I was a baby. My mother sewed clothes until her fingers bled, raised me alone in that house in Kuda. He sent money sometimes through Oho, I suppose, but never a word." Now he wants forgiveness? Stella's heart ached at the bitterness in Aisha's voice. She opened the envelope, pulling out the letters. He wrote this to her in 1987, promising to return. And this she handed over Mariam's unsent reply, is what she wrote back. Aisha took the papers, her hands trembling as she read. Her face softened, then hardened again. words on paper, empty promises. She waited years, you know. Every time a car rolled into Kuta, she'd peek out, hoping. It broke her. Tears welled in Aisha's eyes, but she blinked them away, her jaw tight. Stella reached for the necklace, its teardrop pendant catching the light. He kept this too. Maybe it meant something to him. Aisha snatched it, her fingers closing around the silver. This was hers. She wore it every day until she got too sick to care. He has no right to it now. The room grew tense, the lamp flicker casting shadows that danced like ghosts. Stella felt the weight of Aisha's pain, but also a flicker of understanding. He's not asking for your forgiveness for himself, she said softly. He's asking for peace for you, for your mother's memory. Aisha stood pacing the small space. Peace? My mother died coughing blood in a hut, teaching orphans to read because she had no other choice. He lived in mansions, married another woman, had other children. Where was his peace then? She stopped, facing Stella. Why you? Why not send one of his sons? Stella shrugged, her voice low. He said he trusts me, that his family can be trusted. I don't know why, but I felt I had to come. The silence stretched, broken only by the distant cry of a night bird. Aisha sat again, rubbing her temples. I remember him vaguely tall, smelling of cologne, leaving one day with a suitcase. My mother cried for weeks. She never remarried, never stopped hoping. When I was old enough, I asked Oho about him. He said Idris was a coward, running from love for power. She paused, her gaze dropping to the photo. I look like her, don't I? Stella nodded. Yes. And there's a strength in you? Like her? Aisha's lips twitched, not quite a smile. Strength? Maybe. But Ivy carried her pain too. When she died, I swore I'd never let anyone hurt me like that again. That's why I am here, healing others instead of chasing wealth. Stella felt a pang of connection her own mother's death had driven her to nursing too. Maybe that's why he chose me, she said. We re-alike in that way. Aisha studied her, then sighed. Stay until morning. I'll think about it. But I'm not going to Abuja yet. Stella agreed, unrolling the mat and lying down, the bag as her pillow. Sleep came fitfully, dreams of jacaranda trees and a baby-esque cry weaving through her thoughts. At dawn, the clinic stirred with the sound of patients arriving villagers with cuts, fevers, and tired eyes. Aisha moved with efficiency, bandaging a boy's arm while instructing an older woman on herbs. Stella watched, marveling at her skill, a mirror to her own calling. After the last patient left, Aisha approached a cup of tea in hand. I spoke to Mama Uduak last night. She confirmed you visited, said you seemed honest. Stella accepted the tea, its warmth grounding her. I didn't mean to intrude. I just wanted to honor his wish. Aisha sat across from her, the photo between them. He might die without seeing me. What then? Then you decide what his peace means to you, Stella said. But he is holding on, waiting. Aisha's resolve wavered. If I go, it's for her, not him. To close this chapter, she stood, gathering supplies. We leave at noon. It's a long ride, and I'll need to arrange someone to cover here. Stella nodded, relief washing over her. As Aisha prepared, Stella opened the envelope again, finding a map sketched on the back of a letter Kuta to Gudu, then north to Abuja. A dotted line marked their path, a lifeline connecting past and present. The journey began under a midday sun, the bus crowded with traders and their goods. Aisha sat beside Stella, her silence heavy but less hostile. The landscape rolled by fields of yams, clusters of huts, the tsatsi, occasional baobab standing sentinel. Stella's mind drifted to Idris, his frail form, his desperate eyes. What would Aisha say? Would forgiveness come? The bus jolted, and Aisha's hand brushed hers, a fleeting touch that felt like a bridge forming. As they neared Abuja, the city's skyline emerged, a stark contrast to the villages behind. Aisha's breath hitched. "I haven't been back since I was a child," she murmured. Stella squeezed her hand. "We'll face it together." The hospital loomed ahead, its lights piercing the dusk. Inside, the ward was a flurry of activity doctors conferring, family arguing in the hall. Stella led Aisha to Idris's room, the bag clutched tight, the key and photo a silent promise of what was to come. The hospital corridor buzzed with a tense undercurrent as Stella and Aisha stepped into the sterile light of Supreme Life Abuja, the clock above the reception ticking towards 7:00 p.m. on this crisp October evening. The air carried the faint tang of disinfectant and the muffled hum of medical equipment, a stark contrast to the dusty roads they'd left behind. Aisha's footsteps faltered as they approached the ICU wing, her grip tightening on the small bag of clinic supplies she'd brought, as if anchoring herself to a simpler life. Stella led the way, her heart pounding with a mix of anticipation and dread, the silver key and photograph nestled securely in her own bag. The ward's double doors swung open, revealing a scene of controlled chaos. Doctors moved briskly between rooms, nurses whispered updates, and a small crowd of Idris's family gathered near his suite, their voices rising in heated debate. Malik, sharp in his tailored suit, stood at the center, gesturing animatedly to a man in a gray suit, likely the lawyer from before. The matron, her face etched with exhaustion, intercepted them. "Stella, you're back. And who's this?" she asked, eyeing Aisha suspiciously. "This is Sarah," Stella lied smoothly, using the alias again. "A friend from Gudu. She's here to support a patient." The matron frowned, but nodded, too weary to press. "He is stable for now, but barely. The family's been a nightmare. Go in, but be quick." Stella ushered Aisha forward, the family's stares burning into them as they passed. Malik's cold gaze lingered, his lips curling into a sneer. "Another visitor? Dad's too weak for this," he muttered. But Stella ignored him, pushing open the door to Idris's room. Inside, the atmosphere was suffocatingly still. Idris lay propped against pillows, his skin pallid, his breathing shallow under the oxygen mask. The heart monitor beeped erratically, a fragile thread of life. Stella's chest tightened at the sight. He looked frailer than when she left, his once sharp eyes now clouded with exhaustion. Aisha froze at the threshold, her breath catching as she stared at the man who had abandoned her mother. "Is that him?" she whispered, her voice trembling with a mix of anger and disbelief. "Yes," Stella replied softly, stepping closer. "Al-Haji Idris Beare. Your father?" She set the bag on the bedside table, pulling out the photograph and key. Idris's eyes fluttered open, a faint spark igniting as he focused on Aisha. His lips moved, but no sound came at first. Stella removed the mask gently. "She's here," she said, her voice steadying him. "Aisha's here." Aisha's hands clenched into fists, her scar near the temple pulsing with emotion. "Why now?" she demanded, her tone sharp enough to cut. "After 38 years, why send her to drag me back?" Idris's hand twitched, reaching toward her. "Aisha," he rasped, his voice a broken whisper. "My girl, I am sorry." The words hung in the air, raw and unpolished, and Aisha's resolve wavered. She stepped closer, her eyes glistening. "Sorry doesn't fix it. You left us. Mom died alone because of you." Stella placed a hand on Aisha's arm, a silent plea for patience. "He's been holding on to tell you," she said. "Look at the photo, the letters." Aisha snatched the photograph, her fingers tracing the baby herself, then Miriam's face. She flipped through the letters, her breath hitching at Miriam's unsent reply. "She waited," Aisha said, her voice breaking. "She waited, and you never came." Idris's eyes filled with tears, a rare vulnerability. I was weak. My family, they forced me to marry wealth. I sent money, bought the house, but I was a coward. I thought distance would protect you. Protect us? Aisha's laugh was bitter. She worked herself to death. I grew up hearing her cry at night. Protection would have been you staying. The room grew thick with emotion. The monitor's beeps a stark reminder of time slipping away. Stella opened the envelope, revealing the map and a deed to the Kuta house. He kept the promise in his way, she said. The key unlocks more maybe as safe papers. He wanted you to have it. Aisha stared at the deed, her anger warring with curiosity. What else is there? She asked, her voice softening. Idris coughed weakly, gesturing to Stella. The box in Kuda's safe deposit bank in Abuja. His words were fragmented, but Stella understood. I'll check it, she promised. Aisha knelt beside him, her resolve crumbling. Why should I forgive you? She whispered. Idris's hand found hers, frail but warm. Not for me, for her, for you. Let go of the hate. The door burst open, shattering the moment. Malik stormed in, the lawyer behind him. What's this? Another stranger with Dad? He snapped, his eyes narrowing at Aisha. Who are you? Aisha stood, her chin lifting. Aisha Hassan, his daughter. The room fell silent, the family members crowding the doorway gasping. Malik's face darkened. Lies. You're a bastard child, a scam. Dadas will leaves everything to us. Idris's voice rose, weak but fierce. She is mine. The will includes her. Check it. The lawyer hesitated, flipping through his folder. There's a codicil, he admitted, his tone reluctant. Dated last month. It mentions an Aisha Hassan, equal share with the others. Malik's fury erupted. This is forgery. She is manipulating him. Stella stepped between them, her voice firm. He is lucid. He chose this. The matron intervened, ushering the family out. Enough. He needs rest. Malik glared but retreated, promising legal action. Alone again, Aisha sank onto the chair, tears streaming. I didn't want this, she murmured. I just wanted to know why. Stella handed her the necklace, its teardrop pendant a bridge between them. He gave me this to give you. It's a start. Aisha clutched it, her sobs quieting. Idris's hand tightened on hers. Thank you both, he whispered. His eyes closed, his breathing evening out, a fragile peace settling over him. Stella stepped outside to call Oho, arranging to retrieve the Kuta box, her mind racing with the day's events. Inside, Aisha sat vigil, the photograph in her lap, a daughter grappling with a father's legacy. The night deepened, the city lights twinkling beyond the windows, a silent witness to a family mending or breaking under the weight of truth. Stella prayed silently, hoping forgiveness would take root before it was too late. The clock on the hospital wall ticked toward 9 p.m. as the last echoes of Malik's angry outburst faded down the corridor of Supreme Life Abuja. The air in Idris's room felt charged, a delicate balance between hope and despair, hanging like a thread ready to snap. Stella stood by the window, gazing out at the city lights shimmering against the night sky, the weight of the day pressing on her shoulders. Inside, Aisha remained seated beside Idris, the teardrop necklace dangling from her fingers, her face a mask of conflicting emotions, grief, anger, and a tentative softening. The heart monitor's steady beep was the only sound breaking the silence, a lifeline tethering Idris to this world. Stella turned, her voice gentle but firm. I'll call Oho and Kuda tomorrow to get the box from the house. Whatever S in the safe deposit, it might explain more. Aisha nodded absently, her eyes fixed on her father's frail form. He's holding on, she murmured, almost to herself. I can feel it. Idris's hand twitched, his fingers brushing hers, and his eyes fluttered open, a faint glimmer of recognition in their depths. Aisha, he whispered, his voice a fragile thread. Don't hate me. Aisha's breath hitched, tears spilling over. I didn't know how to stop, she admitted, her voice raw. You left us, and Mom suffered. But seeing you like this... She trailed off, her hand tightening around his. Stella stepped closer, sensing the moment as fragility. He's trying, Aisha. That's all he can do now. Idris's lips moved again, a faint smile breaking through. You both my angels. His words faded, and his eyes closed, exhaustion claiming him once more. The door creaked open, and the matron entered, her expression weary but resolute. Stella, a word outside. Stella followed her into the hall, where the matron's voice dropped low. Malik's raising hell with the board. He claiming Aisha is a fraud, demanding a DNA test. The lawyer drafting papers, it a mess. Stella's stomach churned. He lucid when he speaks. The codicil valid. The matron sighed. Legally, yes. But emotionally, this family a powder keg. Keep her close. Malik might try something. Back in the room, Aisha looked up, her eyes questioning. Trouble? Stella nodded. Malik's challenging your place. They want a DNA test? Aisha's jaw tightened. Let them. I'll prove it. But I want Tiki. Let them take this from me or Mom. Stella admired her strength, a mirror to her own resolve. We'll face it together, she said, and Aisha managed a small nod. The night deepened, and Stella stepped out to make the call to Oho. The phone rang twice before his gravelly voice answered. Oho here. You were back? Yes, Stella replied. Can you check the house for a box under the bed in the back room? There's a safe deposit key inside, linked to a bank in Abuja. It is urgent. Ocho grunted. I'll go at dawn. Call you back. She thanked him, the line clicking off, and returned to find Aisha dozing, her head resting on the chair arm. Hours passed, the hospital settling into a quiet hum. At 2 a.m., Idris stirred, his breathing irregular. Stella alerted the doctor, who adjusted his oxygen and administered a sedative. He fading, the doctor murmured. Hours, maybe. Aisha woke, her face paling. No, not yet. She gripped his hand, whispering, I am here, Dad, I am here. Stella stood vigil, her prayers a silent chant, the room a cocoon of raw emotion. By morning, Oho called back. Found the box. There's a key inside marked First Bank Abuja, box 147. Papers, 2 deeds, a will draft. I'll bring it today if you send transport. Stella arranged a driver, her pulse quickening. The safe deposit could hold the key to Idris's intentions. At noon, Oho arrived, the box weathered but intact. Stella and Aisha opened it in a private room, the contents spilling out. The bank key, a deed to the Kuda house in Aisha's name, a letter to Mariam, and a sealed envelope labeled, For my daughter. Aisha broke the seal, her hands trembling. The letter, written in Idris's shaky hand, read, Aisha, my child, I failed you and your mother. This house, the money I sent, were my weak attempts to atone. I built an empire but lost my soul. Forgive me, not for my sake, but for yours. The safe holds my final gift, your share, equal to my other children. Live well. Your father? Tears streamed down Aisha's face, a sob escaping. He knew, she whispered, all this time. Stella squeezed her shoulder. He wanted you to have peace, not just wealth. They took the bank key to First Bank Abuja, a sleek building in the city center. The vault attendant verified the box number, and inside lay stacks of Naira notes, a jewelry box with Mariam's name, and a legal document transferring a portion of Beare holdings to Aisha. The weight of it stunned them millions, a legacy tied to pain. Back at the hospital, the atmosphere had shifted. Malik and his siblings confronted them in the hall, their lawyer brandishing papers. We demand a test, Malik snarled. This codicil is a fraud. Aisha stepped forward, her voice steady. Test me, I'll prove it. But you can erase me. The doctor arrived, drawing blood from Aisha and Idris, promising results by evening. The family retreated, their anger palpable. In the room, Idris woke briefly, his eyes finding Aisha. You came, he rasped. Yes, she said, her voice breaking. For Mom, for me. He smiled weakly. Thank you, Stella. His hand fell limp and the monitor flatlined. Doctors rushed in, but it was too late. Idris was gone, his final breath a release. Aisha collapsed into Stella's arms, sobbing, the letter clutched to her chest. The DNA results arrived at 8 p.m., confirming Aisha as Idris's daughter. Malik's protestations dissolved under legal pressure, the will upheld. Aisha inherited the Kuta house, a share of the company, and the jewelry symbols of amended past. That night, she and Stella sat in the hospital garden. The city lights a soft glow. I forgave him, Aisha said. Not for him, but for me. Stella nodded, her own heart lighter. You've given him peace, and yourself. The journey had ended, but a new chapter began, two women bound by a man's regret, now forging a future of healing. The morning sun rose over Abuja on October 19, 2025, casting a golden hue across the city as a soft breeze carried the scent of eucalyptus through the hospital garden, where Stella and Aisha sat. It was 6 Karoi, the air crisp and quiet, a stark contrast to the emotional tempest of the previous night. Idris's passing lingered like a shadow, but the garden's blooming flowers, hibiscus and marigolds, offered a promise of renewal. The DNA results, delivered in a sealed envelope, lay unopened on the bench beside them. A final confirmation of Aisha's place in her father's life. The hospital behind them buzzed with the start of a new day. But here, time seemed to pause, allowing space for reflection. Aisha traced the teardrop pendant around her neck, the jewelry box from the safe deposit open at her feet, its contents Miriam's earrings, a bracelet, a locket glinting in the light. Her eyes, red from crying, held a newfound steadiness. I didn't expect to feel this, she admitted, her voice soft. Relief, maybe, like a weight's lifted. Stella smiled gently, her own exhaustion etched into the lines of her face. He got his second chance through you. That's what he wanted. Aisha nodded, picking up the envelope. She tore it open, scanning the report. 99.9 match, she read aloud, a bittersweet smile crossing her lips. It's official. The sound of footsteps interrupted them. Malik and his siblings approached, their expressions a mix of resignation and lingering resentment. The lawyer trailed behind, his briefcase bulging with documents. Malik stopped a few paces away, his jaw tight. The will has been validated, he said, his tone clipped. Aisha gets her share Kuta house, 20 of Berry Holdings, the jewelry. But we rewatching. No funny business. Aisha stood, meeting his gaze. I don't want your empire, Malik. I want what's mine and Mom's memory honored. The lawyer handed her a folder, the deed and transfer papers inside, and Malik turned away, his siblings following in silence. Stella watched the exchange, her heart swelling with pride for Aisha's strength. What will you do now? She asked as the family departed. Aisha sat again, flipping through the papers. Expand the clinic in Gudu. Use the money to train nurses, build a proper facility. Mom always wanted to help others she'd like that. She paused, her eyes softening. And you? You've done more than any nurse should. Stella chuckled, the sound lightening the moment. I've been thinking. Idris left me something to land near Kuta. He mentioned it in the codicil for a healing center. I'd like to build it, maybe work with you. Aisha's face brightened. A partnership? I'd love that. We could teach, heal, make something good from all this. The idea took root, a vision of two women turning pain into purpose. They spent the morning planning, sketching ideas on a notepad, rooms for patients, a garden for herbs, a school for local children. The weight of Idris's legacy transformed into a shared dream as CE bridge between their worlds. By noon, they returned to the hospital to settle affairs. The matron greeted them with a rare smile. "You've brought order to this chaos, Stella, and Aisha, welcome. He spoke of you often in his last days." Aisha blinked, surprised. "He did?" The matron nodded. "Called you his redemption. Said Stella was his angel." The words lingered, a balm to Aisha's wounds. They signed the final papers, the lawyer confirming the transfers, and left the hospital hand in hand, the city's noise a distant hum. The journey back to Kuta was a quiet one, the bus rumbling over familiar roads. At the village, Oho met them at the house, his face creased with relief. "Good to see you back, miss," he said to Aisha. "This place missed you." Aisha touched the doorframe, memories flooding back. "It's home again," she murmured. Inside, they unpacked the box's contents, placing Miriam's letters and jewelry on the shelf as a shrine. Stella explored the land deed, a plot by the Lokia River, lush and serene. "This is perfect," she said, imagining a center rising from the earth. Days turned to weeks, and the vision took shape. Architects visited, locals offered labor, and funds from Aisha's inheritance flowed into the project. The healing center, named Idris Peace Haven, grew with white walls, open windows, and a porch facing the river. Stella oversaw its construction, her quiet leadership inspiring the workers. Aisha split her time between Gudu and Kuta, expanding her clinic and training staff, her skills a beacon for the community. The necklace became her talisman, a reminder of her mother's resilience. On a crisp morning in December, the center's opening ceremony drew villagers from miles around. Drummers beat a joyful rhythm, women danced in colorful wrappers, and children laughed as they explored the new building. Aisha cut the ribbon, her speech simple but powerful. "This is for my mother, Miriam, and for healing what was broken." Stella followed, her voice steady. "For Idris, who found peace in his end, and for all who need it." The crowd cheered, the river's whisper blending with the celebration. That evening, they sat on the porch, tea in hand, watching the sunset paint the sky. "I forgave him," Aisha said, her tone reflective. "Not all at once, but piece by piece. It is like the river slow, but it smoothed the stones." Stella nodded, her own heart at peace. "You gave him that, and now we give it to others." A letter arrived the next day from Malik, a curt note acknowledging Aisha's legitimacy and offering a truce. She smiled, tucking it away. "Progress," she said. Months later, Idris Peace Haven thrived, its rooms filled with patients finding solace, its garden a haven for learning. Stella married a kind teacher from the village, their laughter echoing through the center. Aisha adopted Tundi, the boy from her clinic, his bright smile a new chapter. The jacaranda tree they planted outside bloomed, its purple flowers a symbol of enduring love. Villagers spoke of the nurse and the healer, their story a tale of redemption passed down like a proverb. As the sun set on another day, Stella and Aisha stood by the river, hands linked. "We turned his regret into this," Aisha said, "a legacy of peace." Stella smiled, the river's murmur a song of completion. The past was healed, the future bright, and in the quiet edges of Nigeria, a satisfying harmony reigned born from a dying man's promise and two women's courage,